out of radical skepticism, because it's a radical skepticism and embraces, like knowledge, like how to get to the moon, and that there's something to dark matter, and we don't know exactly what it is, but it's something, and it could be a tweak in the laws of physics. Then it's less of a something, but it's still a phenomena that's real. Or maybe it's an actual matter and energy, which they've sort of demonstrated as of a couple years ago pretty well, that it really has more of this matter and energy kind of existence, but we still don't know what it is, or what kind of material, or what physics really it's using at all, other than that it has a gravitational mass, or the equivalent. It causes gravitation or affects gravitation. I could believe all of that, and you're telling me I'm a radical skeptic. No, the Puranists were not radical skeptics. We've always accepted from pure on evidence. We just didn't want to accept anything that there wasn't evidence for, and that's what you and I have been arguing about. You've been saying there's things that we have to accept with no evidence, and I don't believe that. I believe maybe you could say, we have to adopt them before we have sufficient evidence. Yeah, because you have to adopt them to get the cognitive frame of mind in to even check if there's evidence. You adopt them and see if the evidence is contradicting what you have adopted, or whether it keeps fitting in. I mean, that's what you do, and you compare that to other assumptions that you made, and that's an empirical process. And I don't see how at all that's a radical, life-denying thing when I'm talking with people that are talking about things that can't be justified at all, which seems radical, to believe something that you can't justify at all physically. Of course, I'm sorry, I misspoke there. I mean, they can be justified analytically, theoretically, but still that seems radical to me, saying you're going to believe things like that instead, and that there's some sort of requirements of certainty, though you're softer on those from what I can see, but there's these implied requirements of getting it exactly right. That's the whole term of realism. It's like, I think we've got it exactly right. Things, their substance, their properties, we got that exactly right. Well, but everything's energy, and the properties are all just relationships, which are ephemeral. They go. Every moment you see the blue, it's because there's a new blue photon. It's no property unchanging in the thing. So, yeah, it does look like there's an external world, and that's good enough to me. You say that it's better to say there is a, rather than there seems a. But as I said before, it all adds up functionally equivalently to the same thing. With the exception that this is, the word is, as opposed to become, it has no change, and it implies to a lot of people, maybe not you, an unchanging element. Okay, unchanged, irreducible, right? Because irreducible is related to that, because if you can reduce something into parts, and then the relationships between the parts can change, and that thing that was supposed to be irreducible would change. So you can't divide it into parts, and it's not going to change because it doesn't have parts. Okay, but maybe you can have an idea of irreducible things that change, which would be interesting. But anyway, but the thing is that that is implies this unchangingness in general, not necessarily to everybody. And using that to think about the external world, you look for what really is this unchanging part of the external world, and it's a projection that the external world is just how we think it is. It's going to stay that way, even if things are moving around in it. That there's some underlying essence with reference to which things aren't particularly changing, and you start to look at that as just as configurations. But I say that's impossible. Given the model that we have in our brain, and the material mind is a subset of that material and can only have a model. You can't expect to be particularly accurate and to explain change by finding the unchanging part. I think change is more fundamental than that. So there's another thing in my metaphysics, that if you want to call it my metaphysics, besides the skepticism, is changing. I think a thing cannot stay the same. Everything is changing constantly. There's no moment there's no two moments, where A at moment 0 is unchanged, and it's exact same as A at moment 1. Okay, and you have something like an electron with a particular spin. It's the closest I would know a particle like that to something unchanging. And still, it moves position. And that's weird. Why? Why can't it stay still? Well, because it's a wave. Waves don't stay still. They propagate. That's the whole point of everything being energy. And I want to base my philosophical logic on this realization that, wait, everything is changing, and it's energy transfer, And I want to stop looking for the immutable, unchanging things, because I think that is an approximation that just works so deep, like classical mechanics, pretty deep, deep enough to get to the moon and blow up countries. Oh wait, no, you did need relativity to really blow up a country. Very, the most effective way, unfortunately. But it's good for a lot of things, but then it breaks down and we're looking, closer in. Okay, now the last thing is just, again, I don't think you meant me in particular, but you did say if you're dead set on believing we are in a vat. Now, I am not dead set on that. I'm not saying you specifically said that, but just theoretically, you are bringing it up to me. I'm one of the you, because I'm bringing up the fact that we can't know. And you're saying you don't think it's true, but you're going to admit that if I'm dead set on it, then you can't deny it. Well, I'm not dead set that we're in a vat. I'm dead set on the analytic argument about determining which of the two possibilities, which of two functionally equivalent possibilities are true. Okay, that we're in a vat, or that the world is made of the classical conception of atoms. We have those two ideas. Go back 150 years, those are the two ideas. They're functionally equivalent. I'm dead set on that there is no way to discriminate between them. I've not said we are in a vat or in a matrix. I don't think we are. Okay, I think that if we followed that line of reasoning, we could eventually tell the difference. Eventually, we will be able to tell the difference. For example, if we're in a dream, we can figure that out because it's not that consistent. If we're in a matrix, we'll probably find out some bugs or something if we look close enough. It's really a computer. That's the thing, too. It's like the matrix, not like a computer program like ours. It's the perfect one with no bugs. And the dream isn't like a dream like we have at night. No, it's a perfect one where the laws of physics could be ascertained in experiments. So fucking weird dreams. Those are weird metaphors to use when you really have to say, well, it's less like a dream and more like this other model we have. It's less like a computer and more like this other model. It's a computer so amazing that it's more like this material model presents to us than it is like a computer. Okay, so, I think we would be able to determine that. But for the time period we can't, then fine. We can't. And they're functionally equivalent, and that's all I'm saying. Okay, what I'm dead set on is that it doesn't matter, ultimately. If we are looking at our stream of perceptions, that's where all of these models converge. And suddenly we can find out something concrete like the gravitational constant, okay, the mass of an object, the energy in a system, plus or minus, whatever the error is in each of those. We can make those statements and it won't matter. If they're dream perceptions, great. Whoever's dreaming this is a very competent mathematician or something because he's getting all the rules of physics very consistent. Me, I fly in my dreams. It's not very consistent. Okay, computer programmer, awesome computer engineer there. The electrical engineering and programming must be phenomenal. Okay. The gravitational constant's still the same in any of these situations. What do you want to know more than that? What do you want to know more than how what you're experiencing works? Okay, what you're experiencing is reality. If it's a computer simulation, then reality is a computer simulation. If it's a dream, you're saying we have to adopt one or the other to go forward. I don't. I can behave exactly like I behave now, and I do. And I can behave as if there is a material world, and it all works out. Because the material world is defined in terms of my perceptions, and all I'm really saying is that here's how my perceptions work. I can't always say what they are as a thing in themselves, and in fact I can never really say that. But I can say what they behave as. I can say that the gravitational constant is a particular thing, and I can rely on that. And might it change? Yeah, I can rely on the fact that really to be sure it's not changing, I'll have to keep checking it. That it changing somehow in some weird relativistic way might be why it looks like there's dark matter. Though dark matter does look like some exotic matter, like some weird, one of the possibilities of quantum properties that could create matter that just doesn't interact with our matter quite as physically, but still has gravitational fields in common. Okay, cheers.